7:18 in Trinidad and Tobago. So not only are we counting down towards an election in Trinidad and Tobago on August the 10th, but we're trying to make sense of the saga of the general and regional elections of Guyana of March the 2nd, because in the latest development, the lawyers for Ms. Senga Jones have formally asked the Court of Appeal to set aside the decision of the acting Chief Justice Roxanne George Wilshire upholding the validity of the national recount of votes from the March 2nd polls. This means the people of Guyana have to withstand yet another recount and more delays before official results can be declared. Well, let's get a sense of this now from the candidate for the Prime Ministerial Office of the PPP Civic. He is Brigadier Mark Phillips. Brigadier Phillips, thanks very much for joining us this morning. What exactly is the situation right now as you understand it? Because it gets quite confusing with all of these legal rulings and challenges and so on. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your program. The situation right now, it's 141 days since we had our elections, and we are still awaiting a declaration. The fact of the matter is the APNU AFC, that is the coalition in government, they continue to use the court system to obstruct the declaration of these elections. As you're aware, we had elections on March the 2nd, and by the 3rd of March, the statements of polls were in the possession of all parties contesting the elections. And from the tabulation of the statements of polls in my party, the People's Progressive Party Civic, we knew by the close of business on March the 3rd that we won the elections. By the 5th of March, there was an attempt by the returning officer, an employee of the Guyana Elections Commission Secretariat, Mr. Clement Mingo, to inflate votes on behalf of the party in government and to deflate votes on behalf of my party. In effect, what he did, he attempted to rig the elections so that the party in government will be deemed as victorious. And he was caught red-handed, not only by the scrutineers and the members and leaders of the opposition party, but by the international community. Because, as you're aware, the elections were observed by observers from the Commonwealth, from CARICOM, from the OAS, from the Carter Center, and many other local NGOs. And he was caught red-handed. That triggered a court action and a decision afterwards by both major parties to go to a recount of all the votes. The recount of all the votes was completed after some 34 days, and the statements of recount show clearly what I mentioned earlier, that the PPPC, the People's Progressive Party Civic, won the elections. We had a total of 460,000 valid votes.
Brigadier Phillips, if you would allow me, sorry for interrupting you, sir, but you may not be aware of this, but we've been following this very closely for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So a lot of what you're saying, we're aware of already. And because we have limited time, we just want to get to a stage where we understand what is happening right now. So thankfully, because of the tremendous interest shown by our audience here in Trinidad and Tobago nationals, Guyanese nationals, and so on, we've been getting all of this information. So what I want to get from you, sir, if you would allow me, because now that the ruling of the acting Chief Justice came down on Monday, dismissing the claim of Ms. Jones, and now that the APNU AFC have highlighted, from what I understand, 23 instances where they've cited where the High Court erred in its judgment, so they are going to the Court of Appeal. How do you see this process rolling out given these latest developments?
Look, the matter is placed in the Court of Appeal, as you quite rightly said, and I can tell you that the CCJ on a previous matter similar to this one has already ruled, and it's clear that the recount results must be used to declare the winners of the election. And I would be surprised that if the matter now placed before the Court of Appeal, if the Court of Appeal comes to a similar conclusion, a similar ruling, that the recount results must be used to determine the winner. And once they come to that conclusion, it means that the High Court, the CCJ, and the Court of Appeal having the same position, the results will soon, after the court system, will soon be declared using the recount results, and the PPPC will be the winner of these elections. And the PPPC will be forming the next government of Guyana.
But if they don't, Brigadier, because we've had the Court of Appeal in Georgetown already rule a few weeks ago on a majority decision in favor of Miss Esselins David's claim. What would happen if it is that the Court of Appeal, again, whether majority decision or unanimous decision, rules in favor of the APNU AFC claim?
Well, it's fair. If they rule in favor, the matter goes right back to the CCJ. And the CCJ, as you know, is our apex court or a final court. And there's a ruling by the CCJ on record where they already indicated that this recount results are the results to be used for
Could I ask you, Brigadier, because
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
The court system is used to obstruct the process, but it's inevitable. The process will end with a declaration of the results as soon as the court system is being utilized, and it will be based on the results of the recount.
Brigadier, is there any validity to the claim by the APNU AFC and via Mr. Aubrey Norton, who we've been interviewing a couple of times, that there was many as 41 boxes with no documentation, and their claim is that the ruling of the acting Chief Justice did not take into consideration all of the issues associated with the election process, in which they are claiming corruption in favor of the PPP Civic?
Look, let me simplify this to your listeners. According to the Representation of the People's Act, that's the law governing elections in Guyana, whatever allegations you have, you are allowed to place it before the courts in the form of a petition. In the form of a petition before the courts. And that can only be done after the declaration of the elections results. And I know you have similar laws in Trinidad and Tobago. So all that they are mentioning there are just deemed allegations. The onus is on them to have their evidence and go before the court after the declaration of the results, because the Guyana Election Commission is not a court. The Guyana Elections Commission cannot try a case. All they can do is run an election and declare who are the winners and the losers. Any party that feel aggrieved and would have itemized their allegations after the declaration of the elections, the law provides for them to go before the court in the form of a petition. They have 28 days after the declaration to go before the court. So what Mr. Norton really should be doing and advising is the leadership of his party is to have that list of allegations and anomalies, await the declaration of the results, and then take it before the courts. The law provides for that in Guyana, as against trying to obstruct the process towards the declaration of the results. And you know what? They're doing that because they know clearly that twist it or turn it, the APNU AFC lost these elections. The PPPC won the elections, and the PPPC will be forming the next government. They're trying to remain in office through fraudulent means, and they're trying to obstruct the process towards the declaration of the rightful winners.
And Brigadier Phillips, because it's almost 5 months now since that election of March the 2nd, when, from your understanding of the process and the legal process, when can you expect a ruling on this latest appeal from the Court of Appeal? When is that going to happen?
I would based on the manner in which the court system been treating these cases, I would say by mid next week we should have a ruling.
By the middle
all
of
these
next week.
cases are given priority in our court system, and most likely they will go to the CCJ again. Let's give the whole process 2 weeks, and we'll reach right back to where we were, awaiting a declaration of the winners of the election, utilizing the results of the recount by the Guyana Elections Commission.
And
So
before,
here again, I'm mentioning to you that the APNU AFC is utilizing the court system to obstruct the inevitable.
and before we
Which is-
conclude, Brigadier, because I asked this question of all our guests in relation to this situation, as the
Sure.
time goes on and as the frustration grows on both sides, how much longer is this creating a level of unrest within the Guyanese community? Are people being patient? What is your sense of this situation?
Well, I can tell you, our Guyanese people have been patient for over 141 days now, and they're likely to remain patient for another 2 to 3 weeks. We will continue to appeal to the people because this whole process is people-centered. It's a respect for the will of the people. And once you respect the will of the people, regardless how long it takes, we will have a government through the democratic means.
Brigadier
And
Mark.
Guyana will continue to be a democratic state in CARICOM and in the OAS and in the world. Our democracy will not be derailed. It will prevail at the end of this process.
Brigadier Mark Phillips,
And
thank
I
you
wish to
very much.
commend our people for holding firm and for being peaceful and calm, and allow this process to its finality. And as I said before, it's inevitable. The PPPC, the People's Progressive Party Civic, will be forming the next government after the declaration by GCOM,
Thank you
whenever
very-
they decide to
Thank you very
declare
much,
the
sir, for taking the
elections.
time to be with us this morning. Brigadier Mark Phillips, the Prime Ministerial candidate for the PPP Civic, very confident in the process that it will be resolved. As he says, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, it could very well be a situation where we know the new government or the reinstated government of Trinidad and Tobago before we know the government of Guyana from their elections on March the 2nd. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. 7:30.